Hello there, I'm Fancy and welcome in this tutorial where I will show you how to create smoke in Niagara in Unreal Engine 4. So you can see that I have here several colors of smoke, and that's because I have changed it all to parameters, so you can change it for each different particle. So let's say that I want this one to smoke much more, so let's set smoke amount to 50 and change its color to red. And here we go, it's reddish. And let's say that now I want it to want it just to smoke a bit. Someone just a bit poof. Someone just wants some poof. And then this one, let's set to 20. And again, different color. You can change it as much as you want. Everything here in Niagara. So let's get to it. I'm using project that I have created in previous tutorial where I have made fire. You have link for that in the description, of course. But let's not worry about fire, let's create smoke. So new folder and smoke. And just so I don't forget, click into plugins and make sure that you have enabled everything that has anything to do with Niagara. Click on these built-in plugins and find here Niagara and make sure that you have all of these enabled except Houdini, unless you are using it, which you are probably not. So what I will start with is, again, as previously, I will look into starter content and find here smoke, because that's what I will try to create. And you can see that this one is not very dense, mine will be definitely denser, but I will look into that. So let's go into our folder smoke and create here a new Niagara emitter. So FX and Niagara emitter right here. And we want to create new emitter from template, and that template will be, let's do just empty template, that's probably fastest. Let's call it NE, like Niagara emitter, and smoke. Double click on it. And we have here absolutely nothing. So first of all, let's make sure that we spawn something. So put here spawn rate. And fix it, because I have now, of course, we need to put it under emitter update and under emitter spawn, because spawn rate will spawn continuously through the life of this particle effect. So let's try to play it and see if something happens. Nothing, because we have to set spawn rate. Let's start by setting spawn rate to about 10, and it seems like it's already doing something. All right, cool. So now we have here this thing that has literally nothing to do with smoke. So let's go into sprite editor and we will change material to smoke UVs. If you don't have it here, you probably don't have starter content, so you can just click here, add here feature or content pack, and add here starter content. So let's change it and put here smoke sub UVs. It will compile, and in the meantime let's quickly look into that material, what it does. And it's this one. And just the important thing is to look into this texture. So it's simple material created from this texture. So if we look into that texture, which is, where are you, my dear? There you go. You can see that it's about 8x8 animation of smoke. So remember, it's 8x8 because we will use it. So first of all, look at that, it shows us all of them, so we will have to scale it. So let's go down here into sub UV, and I believe it's 8x8, literally 8x8, because it's 8 right here and 8 right here. So now let's add here animation. So for that we need to go into particle update and put here sub UV animation, and let's change it to 64 because it's 64 frames, because 8x8. So now if we play it, you can see it looks like a smoke. It's moving like a smoke, so I would say it's probably a smoke. Yeah. And note that from GTA San Andreas. So now what I would want to do is to go into initiate particle, and we have here sprite size. So let's change it a bit. I want it to always be same, so let's convert it to one float. Click on this little arrow and put here float, and click on vector 2D from float. And by default right now it's set to 1x1, so let's go with 15x15 and try to play it. And it's starting to look cool, I would say, almost cool. So I don't want all of them to be same, so let's put here arranged, uniform, arranged float, again clicking on this arrow. And let's say that I want to have them between 5 and about 50 15. That could look cool. Oh, I put there 18 by accident, but it seems like it will work. And the thing is that right now they are all spawning on the same place. So let's put here on particle spawn, sphere, come on, sphere location. So now it will spawn somewhere in the space, which looks kind of terrible. So what I will do is to change its sphere radius, about 20, let's say. I would say that's still way too small, but I will change it to hemisphere Z and surface only. Yeah, something like that's starting to look much better. And because I want to see it in the game, to compare it with this one, let's actually go back into our smoke content, right here, smoke, right click on it and create Niagara system. And it just called itself any Niagara Smoke system. So I put it here. You can see that it's spawning there and not looking that bad, but probably not what I'm looking for. So let's get back into Niagara emitter. And first of all, I will need to increase its size because it's way too small. So spawn rate by 10 seems pretty fine but for now. So let's go into initiate particle and set it to between 5 and 18. Let's try 15 and 30. But I also don't want all of them to live for the same time. So let's go into emitter state and, oh no, actually, sorry, into initiate particle. And right here we have lifetime set for 5, which is kinda long. So let's click on it and put here ranged, uniform ranged float. And I want its life to be about from 1 second to 3 seconds. So now that looks a bit better again. What we can also do is to decrease that sphere again. Let's put it only to about 10. So sphere location 10. And still I'm not really sure about that. Let's put here 15 and increase its size again. So initiate particle and sprite size from 20 to, let's go from 25 to 35. And now let's see how it looks. I would say it looking much better than it did before. But we can also see that we are missing some movement because right now this smoke that we are trying to mimic is going up. So that will be everything for Niagara emitter and for the tutorial. I'm just joking. that would be a terrible tutorial. So let's go into Niagara Smoke system because right now I want to change things only for this particular smoke, but you may need to use this emitter for something else. Let's add here some velocity. So let's go into particle update and put here velocity. Let's go with just velocity. Just add velocity, fix it. Because it was under solve forces and velocity. And I want to, you can see that it's going mostly up, a little bit on the right. So I want to go about 1 or about 5 on the axis. And that will be way too much, but don't worry, we will fix that in a bit. And about 1 on x-axis. Come on. And that's not bad. Not really what I want, but not bad. Yeah, you can see that that velocity was really way too much. So let's actually scratch that. And again, create here a ranged uniform vector. On our x-axis, it will be between 0.2 and 0 and 1.2. Y-axis, let's set to 0. We don't want it to move on y-axis at all. And z-axis will be between 0.5 and let's go 2. Probably too much. Oh no, that's actually looking pretty decent. I like it. But we can also see another thing, that scale of it is slowly going up. As it spawns here, it's smaller and then it goes up, which is not happening in our case. So let's see what we can do about that. So to do that, we will have to go into particle update and put here size. Yeah, we need to find scale sprite size, right, this one, click on it. And you can see that by default it's set to 1 on 1. Which means that I can edit both of these axes, which I don't want. I want to again turn it into one float, so vector 2D float. and now it's set to 1, but if I turn it into 5, you can see it's much bigger. But that's not what I want. I want it to turn into curve, because right now it will go slower. On the time of 0 it will have value of 1, and on time of 1, which is time of 1, which is time where the particle will die, it will turn into 0, sorry. But that's not what I want, right? I want to move this a little bit so I have bigger area where I can work with. And let's say that on the start I want it to have a value of, come on, click on the start, I want it to have a value of 0.7. Then let's create here another one, and on time of 0.6 let's put it on value of 2, so it will 2 times as big. And then on time of 1 it will have value of 0.6, it will scale down again. So you can see that it's spawning right here, it's going bigger and then scaling down again. And you know what, actually I am scaling, you know what, let's not scale it down, it will die anyway. Because we will fix that later. So on let's put it on 0.8 and that value is set to 3. And then let's just, on time 1, let's just set that value to 3. Let's not change it then. Alright, so now select all of that and change it to auto. So now you can see that it's getting bigger as that single particle gets older. Alright, that's cool. We will need to do something with that velocity still, but let's do one more thing, because right now, once that particle is supposed to die, you can see that it just disappears, which looks quite terrible. So what we will do is to edit here alpha, edit its visibility. So in particle update, let's put here scale color, and I don't want to edit scale RGB, I want to edit only scale alpha. If I set it to 0, it's invisible, which is cool. So what I want to do is to again turn it into curve, float from curve. And you can see that right now it's almost immediately disappearing. On 0 it's of course on value 1, and on end of its life it's on value of 0, but it's way too soon, we don't want that. We want to add here another key, and on time of 0.4 let's still have it on value 1. And then let's actually move it to 0.6, and then on time of 1 let's put it into value of 0. Now turn it into auto, and that should be fine. And look at that, now it's disappearing. Now we are getting there, guys, not gonna lie. I would still like to add here some velocity, some randomness to it. So let's go into system, and right now we have it only add velocity. So what I will do is to add here random vector noise, and put here above solve forces and velocity. Alright, and now it's set to 200, which will be probably way too crazy. But actually it doesn't look that bad, look at that. Because now if I increase spawn rate about 20, it should be very similar. It's a bit faster, but I don't really think that's a problem. I would probably increase that sphere right now. So sphere location, you can put it into 20. If you are increasing sphere location, if you're increasing spawn rate, it's probably better idea to increase also sphere location or sphere scale. It's a bit too fast, so let's take our add velocity and not put it on 2 on z-axis, but 1.5. Yeah, that's much more like it. Let's also put here drag, that will kinda slow it down. Again, put it above solve forces and velocity. But right now it will be 1 is probably too much. Oh, it's not as much as I was afraid it will be. Let's still decrease it. Let's put drag on 0.6. That will just kinda keep it all together. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. I would say that we got ourselves a smoke. So now what I will do actually is to change it so you can edit it whenever you want. And you don't have to go into this Niagara system. Let's say that you want to put it to someone else in your team and he doesn't want to mess with Niagara. Or let's be real, you are working alone, no one likes you, etc, etc. So now when I have insulted everyone who was still here, let's create new user exposed in the variable. And first one will be float. And that float will be amount, smoke amount. Another variable which will be smoke. We need to first create a variable which will be linear color. And let's call it smoke color, as you would think. So now if we click into that Niagara emitter smoke, we have here initiate particle, and on that we have color. So let's put here our smoke color, and in emitter spawn rate, let's put our smoke amount to spawn rate. So now what you can see is that nothing is happening, and that's simply because default of these values, if you click on this any smoke system, is set to 0. So let's set it to 10 and let's leave it on white, that doesn't really matter. Now we have here something and let's really try to match it. So I would say that we need about 15 on smoke amount, and let's put that color on something darker. Maybe a bit reddish. I feel like there's just a little bit of red in there. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. It's not impossible, not gonna lie. But so now we have supposedly sort of matched it. So I have created something like that. So let's add some other stuff. First of all, let's create it bluish, because who wants shadowless smoke like that? Let's decrease it a bit. And I will talk a bit about performance, because when you are creating particles, you need to make sure that you don't overload your system too much. So what you can do is to go into this Niagara Smoke system, and first of all look into lit, which is view mode, and switch optimization viewport to shader complexity. It will load in a bit, and it will basically show you how complex your shader is. And now you can see that it's pretty good, it's not bad. If you are in white, you have a problem. If you are in red, you shouldn't use it too much, but it's alright, it's particle after all. If you are in green, you probably don't have a particle, let's be real. But let's see if I can mess it up. Let's say that I want to increase spawn rate. I won't have to go here. Let's say I want to put, I want to create it super shiny. So I will put red to 0.8, green to 50, and blue to 3. We'll create color like this. And now I want to also create smoke amount of about 50, which won't be probably that much of a problem, but you can already see how it impacted performance. Oh, that's a lot actually. Now if I switch it back into lit, you can see what it does. It should shine a bit. And let's delete this one and put that guy here. And you can of course change it also here and look at it in this regular viewport. You can see pretty bad, especially in comparison with our OG legacy system. So let's decrease it about 10. Should be again alright. And if you wanna crash it just for the fun, let's put here 5000, and you can see that it's completely bad and terrible. Just to really show it, let me put here stat unit, just to see how heavy on performance it is. Right now on 5000 frames, it's actually not that bad. I was afraid it would be much worse. Now here we go. I wasn't actually rendering it. Now when I'm actually rendering it, you can see that one frame would take 74 milliseconds, which it should take about 16.6 if you want to have 60 frames per second. So very bad, very bad. So let's put it into 50, and you can see that it's under 16, 17. Still quite a lot, but not that bad. But if I put it into 15 and still have it look pretty much like this one, you can see that our game performance is much better. And if you again look into optimization viewport, it's good. It's late, but not that. And if you have followed previous tutorial how to create fire, let's add it here. I have here fire. So I can just right click and add emitter. Let's add here that smoke. And of course don't have here that velocity, but I believe that I can actually connect it. So if I go into smoke system, I should be able, yeah, I can create asset from it and create new emitter from this one. So let's call it any smoke with velocity. Save it. It created new one. You can see that I have here that velocity. And what I will do then is to go into content, fire. Let's delete this one and add emitter, add smoke with velocity. And move this down on 0, 1. And I need to change user parameters again. And let's say that I want it to do about, you know what, let's actually not do it here, because we all have it, because we have all this exposed as user parameters. So what I can simply do here, if you don't have that fire, you haven't followed previous tutorials, so you can do that, link in the description of course. Let's put that fire here. And first of all, let's scroll down here and we'll override some parameters. Well, first of all, let's put fire to some proper color. Let's do something like that, that's not bad. And now let's put here smoke amount about 15. You can see it's creating some smoke. Well, that's a lot of smoke. Well, a lot of smoke. They're spawning on bit different places, so you can actually change that with sphere, location, etc. And create that smoke much darker. Like you can put some red into that smoke. Yeah, something like that. That's not bad. That's starting to look pretty cool. And I actually forgot in previous tutorials, you can also work with light, because right now in any fire, you can also add here light emitter. You can of course do it also with smoke or any other emitter, but it looks really good with fire. So let's put it here. And you should be able to see, you can see how the light is reflecting from the floor. If I put it on something that is actually higher on reflectiveness, you should be able to see, alright, that's not very reflective. But you can see it here. Now you can also of course do is to click on the light render and increase scale radius. Right now it's on 1. Let's do 100. Should be much more intensive. Let's do 1000. Oh, way much more light. But let's also look at performance, because we can't of course forget that. So to do shader complexity, not that bad actually. And I believe we can find that in light complexity. It doesn't seem like it affects it that much, so it's probably not a problem. Oh, here we go. It was just, oh, it was actually so light that it fired everything. So that's how you can see how bad it was. Alright, on 1 it should be alright. If you put it on 100, you can see that it's influencing everything. Can be quite a performance hitter. Alright, then that's about it. Now you should be able to create this wonderful smoke or edit fire that you have possibly created in previous tutorial and change its color, etc, etc, etc. You know how to do all that well. If you like this, press the like button, subscribe and all this stuff. I will for sure make more Niagara tutorials and other programming and Unreal Engine tutorials. So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it. Sir Fancy out.